Hello everybody, I hope you're all having a wonderful day and welcome to our second video of our little art tutorials for the Creative Isolation Pack with Postpieces and Unheard Poetry. This week I thought we could mess around with some watercolour paints. They're really fun. I love the effect that they create. You can create some really simplistic, beautiful work with them. And this week I thought I'd do a little bit of a tutorial on a little night sky kind of landscape painting. So I'm going to go through some tips for blending watercolors and some other cool effects you can get, so blooming effect and some gradient washes, just so that you can kind of use this tutorial to create your own little landscapes if you wanted to. First of all, what you'll kind of need is a watercolor set. Now if you tend to paint a lot and you kind of want to get a good set, there are some really good ones on Amazon. I use a Winsor & Newton little travel palette, and it's brilliant. It's literally this size. I should have put it in the video, but it didn't. And it comes with its own brush that you put water in, and it's really handy, but it can be slightly expensive. I actually got that one for my birthday, and it's lasted me a couple of years. If not, you can get little cheap ones on Amazon, £3-4, I think, not even that. It's really not important for these kind of tutorials. It's just all about creating art and having fun with it. And even just sometimes just watching the videos can just kind of put you in quite a relaxing mood. So that's kind of the point of this. Obviously you'll need a brush and some water. I literally use jam jars to put my water in. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And that's really it for what you'll need. And also the other thing is, you're probably best to buy watercolor paper. Again, you can get it super cheap on Amazon. Supermarkets now sell it. I'm pretty sure Tesco have it. So don't worry about buying the most expensive paper in the world. Unless you do want to kind of start selling your work, then I would start to go for the more high-end stuff. Yeah, and there's all different, you can do some research into that. There's all different types of paper that you might want to buy, but not overly important for this tutorial. I just thought I'd give you a heads up for any budding artists out there, because I know when I started off, especially painting, I found that the materials, there were so many and I didn't know what ones to choose from. So yeah, let's get started.
Okay, so the first technique that we're going to go over is called a gradient wash, which is basically just working the watercolor from a dark to a light gradient. Basically the first thing that you want to do is go over your page with clean water. So take the biggest brush you have. In my case, I don't really have a lot of my big watercolor brushes with me. So you want to brush over it with just clean water and just soak the entire page until there's kind of a glossy effect over the page. Yeah, and then once you've got that done, basically what you want to do is activate your watercolor. So you want to take a little bit of water on your brush and just lightly just dip the brush into it and really let the brush soak up all the pigment from the watercolor. So with this kind of an effect, you want to work from the top down. You want your darkest gradient at the top, and you want to apply loads and loads of watercolor to the top, and then just work your way down in straight lines. You'll see me kind of go over this quite a lot, and it's because I didn't really start off with enough watercolor in my brush. So you want to make sure you've got a lot on there so that you start with your darkest color and work the whole way down. Also, I really want the top part of it to be as dark as possible, so I just have to keep going over it. With this, I'm basically blending into white. I don't leave any of the page actually white, but I allow the contrast of the dark blue to make it look as if there's white at the bottom, because with watercolors, you're not actually supposed to ever use the white watercolor. I mean, everyone does, and it's fine if you do. I mean, I use it in the tutorial that I'm going to do later, but it just looks a lot more natural if you just allow the watercolor itself just to kind of blend from dark to light. In watercolors, I always work dark to light. Yeah, that's kind of it for the gradient wash, so we'll move on to our next one. So the next effect that we're going to cover is called blooming, or a cauliflower effect. Again, All of the effects that I use are called wet to wet effects. So basically you want to soak the page again with and lots of water this time. You kind of want the page to be soaking for this effect to work at its best. And this one's pretty simple. Then once you've got that going, basically all you have to do is get a lot of paint on your brush. So I choose red and blue for this effect because I think they work really well together. And you basically just dab it in. You want to make sure you've got loads and loads of wet paint on the brush before you dab, and it'll create a really lovely blooming effect. I've only done a little bit here, but you can cover the whole page with this and it looks pretty cool. Now that we've covered those two techniques, we're going to use the gradient wash again for our little tutorial. It's kind of like a landscape night sky kind of effect. So you want to go ahead and cover the page again with water. I work in horizontal strokes because that's kind of the way I want the gradient to go. You can switch it up, you can do it diagonally, whatever you like. I just tend to like this way better. So yeah, after that I choose my colour. I've kind of gone for like a purpley red, just preference. You can choose any colour you want really. I'd recommend working with like a dark, really pigmented colour for this kind of a thing, like avoid yellows, a dark green or a dark red. Is probably your best bet for this kind of style of painting. Yeah, so I just work through the same way as I did before with the blue, and just go over it a couple of times and really add to the darkness at the top. I really want a strong gradient in this one because later on we're going to add some like white stars, and I really want them to stand out on this background. So you'll kind of see me go over this a couple of times, and then also what I do is go in with as much paint on my brush as possible. So basically to do that you want to really soak your brush and kind of swirl it about in the paint for a couple of seconds until you can kind of see the brush pick up a lot of paint. And you'll see me start to dab in this one, and it's because I want the top part of my gradient to be really strong and really pigmented. So I kind of go over this a couple of times, and then basically what we have to do now is leave that to dry. Okay, so I've let that dry for about 20 minutes or so. It depends on the kind of paper you're using and paint. And once that has dried, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white and I really want to soak my brush again. I want to use lots of water in the brush and get as much paint on the brush as possible. Basically all that I'm going to do here is tap the brush loads over the painting, and you'll kind of see it creates like a nice starry sky effect. It's really simple. You just got to make sure that there's loads of paint on your brush for this to work. I'd recommend putting down like a cloth or newspaper because I didn't. I mean, watercolors wash off pretty easily off any surface because they're water-based, but yeah, if you don't want to make a mess, stick down some newspapers or something that you don't really care about. Then you don't really have to worry about wiping a glass table like I did. Okay, so now that that is dry, for that it probably only takes about 5 minutes to dry, if even that. Okay, our next step is to paint a black vertical line at the bottom of the page, and then after that you're going to want to go through and just kind of lightly dab in random horizontal directions, and it just kind of creates for like a really nice tree shadow effect. Yeah, and then we just kind of repeat this in like different sizes all along the bottom of the landscape, and it'll just kind of all come together to create a really like nice starry sky effect. Again, you can do this with so many different colors. I really like this pinky kind of purple color. I just think it really stands out nice. It kind of looks a bit sunsetty, but I've painted this on blue, green. You can go nuts really, pick whatever color you want, run with it, have fun. Yeah, so that's kind of it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if there's anything that you'd like to know or need help with anything, If you are somebody that is very interested in watercolours and would like to know where to get certain sets or the best paper, please feel free to message me on my Instagram, which is @OrMcNulty, or go ahead and contact the PostPieces Instagram. Yeah, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.